reductionist. I can't see that. It's not real. Okay. So how we started this was the sustainable city model. Because we specialise in large, low-cost housing, we've actually completed many thousands of homes in remote areas of Malaysia. And our expertise is really in sustainable building materials, fast-track construction systems. And we leveraged off this experience of doing very large volume housing, which was very much repetitive, to actually design a sustainable city model. Okay, and so these are the projects that were completed in Sabah in Malaysia. So there was, down the bottom is 1,206 terrace houses, the top are mid-range bungalows and semi-detached. And the other one is for the military, islands in the South China Sea. Actually, the drums got the Q for Quick Wall. That was actually my company in Malaysia. So from there, this is actually what started everything for me. I saw this graph in 2001, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It took 500,000 years to get to $2.6 billion people in 1950. It's not that long ago. And in just 100 years, it explodes to 9 billion. So that's not 100,000 years. It's not 1,000 years, it's 100 years. So the world really does need to get serious about sustainable building technologies, fast track. So this really, started for me. The next one is where this whole journey began for me, and it was in Ghana. And this actually is a real parcel of land, and I started designing a city, a sustainable city, an affordable city. And I was actually known as the lunatic in KD 207. I was designing a city with no project. So we were working on this for about 2.5 years. And seriously, I was actually the laughing stock of my business centre. But we got planned down to the nth degree, and we had a lot of progress in designing sustainable infrastructure that was fueled from the waste of the previous requirement. We got down to knowing how many 13-year-olds will be in a school, how many dump trucks, how many rubbish trucks that were to service this particular city design. Just go on to the next one. Next one. So then there was a king in Lagos, in the Asulu Island Kingdom, and he had 8,000 acres, and he wanted to develop it. He went to the local a prominent architect, very prominent, designed and built the Nigerian Federal Reserve building. So quite good. They felt that they couldn't do the job. They said, but they have the expertise to try to find the people who could do the job. They ended up shortlisting to 2 companies. One was Arab. You might know them. They're world's largest company. They've got 12,000 architects and engineers. And the other one was Habitat. And then I did not expect to get it actually against 12,000 competitors, but we were awarded it. We did win the contract. I flew to China. We designed the 3,000-acre city. Went back, had a presentation, which actually, and we were appointed the development manager. This project is not my project. I just did the design, but I think they're waiting for the C of O to proceed. But as for me, what I'd done was I decided to scale it down from a city to a township. So, and I've got what I feel is the best product for rapid development throughout Africa. And it's based on working and employment, all around that, and affordability. So this is actually one real parcel of land. When I was in Nigeria, there was a company who had a low-cost housing project, and they had this one of the top, I think it's 80-acre parcel of land. And I'm asking them in the process, because I'm just helping them. I said, okay, who pays for the roads? It says the government. I said, okay, good. Can we get them to do it first? No. I said, okay, can we get them, when can they do it? Is it going to be a year? No. Okay, when? Is it 5 years? No. 10 years? Yes. Okay, so no, it means never. It's never going to happen. Okay, so good. So they're not going to do the roads. Okay, so what I did was I designed this way to have a nice looking low-cost housing estate. So if you notice that they've just got the two main roads there, if you can see that, and the others are what I call meandering pathways. So this is reduced roads by 60%, and then I have a technology to reduce the cost of roads by 60%. So we're talking about a very small fraction, and we can get roads where there's no budget, and a very, very nice, safe lifestyle. So this is the model of which we do, and also now we're introducing more along the blocks, because we want to have very, very affordable housing for workers that will be working in the free trade zones. Now, a typical township is around 100 acres, and it's a gated community. It's got these things: the schools, pedestrian mall, business centre, medical centre, fire station, internal public transport, linking to external public transport, leisure centres, industrial park, go fuel station, which is at my own alternative fuel, transport terminal, hotel and public sanitation, which I'll talk about a bit later, the independent power station, which is incorporated into the roof. The whole city is on DC current. So there's no AC except for in the industrial park from there. But in the homes, we're going to have everything running off DC current, the fridges, everything. Okay, so the next one is the Belton Road. What is the Belton Road Initiative? So this is actually an initiative of the Chinese government. Actually, I should know, but it's about, say, 8 to 10 years ago. And it's a initiative to revive the Silk Road and to also have a marine route. And you can see where it goes through. You might remember about a year and a half ago that the first train from China arrived in London. That is a part of this initiative. And also you can see the sea route. But the sea route only has one port in all of Africa. That's in Mombasa. So this is about they've spent already around $3 trillion, and this is expected to hit 7 and then up into $20 trillion. This is no doubt the largest infrastructure initiative in the world. Okay, so what I've come up with is the African Belton Road. Because we're going to be doing these townships, we're going to have them along a route. And so we're master planning the whole thing, but then we're welcoming people to participate. So you might notice that it's going to go in through Mombasa, and then we make our way through to the west coast. It has a spur down to Angola and then through to Accra. It has the main base in Nigeria, and then it will come by sea back to Europe, and we close the loop. So this was a natural progression. So And of course, as I say, with these spots, we'll have the free trade zones. And what we'll do is have a bonded train, so the goods don't get cleared, and they can make all their way through on a bonded train. Which means is it doesn't get cleared until the port it arrives. So you have to pay the duties. It has a lot of benefits. Okay, next. So in this, there's a lot of opportunities. This is an initiative as a master plan for people to participate. So people can take presence in what we're doing, in the townships that we're doing. They can joint venture with us. They can do their own. They can do something outside and become part of the African Belt and Road by themselves. This is open. This is open for everybody to participate. It's an initiative. Okay. Another thing is, there's going to be along the route. This is also to join up the railways, and where there's railways that are missing, we will have bridging it with what I'm going to show you as road rail. Okay, now here's an example of what's happening in railway development in Africa. Kenya is a long way down the track. They have got a $13 billion railway system that's virtually nearly completed. A lot of it has been in operation for a couple of years, and it's extensive. You can see all those railways. So this is the start of then more links. Now, I'm not proposing that we do railways, but I'm proposing that if we can grasp a plan that countries along the route can keep on joining up and going along and get from one side of the continent to the other. Okay. And then the African, this is the Trans-African Railway. I've also initiated the Trans-African Railway. And you can go to that, transafricanrailway.com. It is mainly a central booking. It's not a railway, it's a booking agency. So it will be able to plan one ticket and join them from one side to the other. And here's an example of road rail. So along the route, trying to have the containers go across the land, where there will be voids, we'll have this road rail. In Australia, this is very, very common. You see here 2, but in Australia we have them up to 10. Because in Australia, obviously I come from Australia, so there's very, very vast, way more than just from West Africa to East Africa. We travel far further than that, and they're all done in these road train trucks. Okay, and these are companies. People can have these ventures, and they can say, okay, well we're going to take care of this link, and they're welcome to it. They can come to us for guidance with trucks and stuff like that, or they can do it themselves. Okay. Okay. The next one is something that actually I can't believe is not happening. This is a high-speed passenger cargo ferry. Now, I've done research in this, and this is a part of, if you remember, from Nigeria, and we want to go all ports, all countries up to Senegal. And you'll see why in the next slide. So, I've identified the most appropriate vehicle. Not biased, but made in Australia. Designed and made in Australia. And it holds, it's a 266 feet, and it holds 700 passengers and 181 cars. So what I what I can't believe is, of course, you've got these, we were talking, the gentleman was talking earlier about the extortion points at the borders. So if a truck got on this ferry, it would just bypass all that. No fuel being burnt, it would be so economical, it's not funny. The time down, and these things are not expensive. I would like to even form consortiums and trying to get this one off the ground before long. Okay, the next one is ERA. Now, I was looking at the airline situation in this country, and there's a couple of new airlines going up in Nigeria, and I'm kind of friends with the owner of AirAsia, as a low-cost airline. I was in Malaysia, as you're aware, for 6 years, and I'm looking at why it's so expensive. I'll give you an example. I fly from here, it's like 800 pounds. It's 7 hours flight. If I go to Malaysia, it's 400 pounds and it's 12 hours. So that makes here 4 times more expensive. Why? It's because Malaysia is a hub, and here isn't. And so if I worked out that if we can use domestic aircrafts, we can reach one international hub from Guinea-Bissau. So I've done a deal with Guinea-Bissau to use that as a hub. So there's actually a way of introducing, there is a way, I've worked it out, of having low-cost international airline using domestic aircrafts. And I reckon we could get the cost to go to Europe down to about $300. So, okay? About 250 pounds instead of 700-800 pounds. Okay, now here's one that I have particularly fond about. I was in Kenya about 10 years ago. I was asked by a bank to develop 80 acres. It had a lot of squatters. And I spent some time in there. There was about 300 mud huts. I find that the vast majority, 95%, were single mothers, and there was over 1,000 children. I also learned that these mothers were in an impossible situation. They were being bled dry. They even renting their mud huts, if you can believe that or not. And so I basically said to myself, I'm going to try and help these types of single mothers in Africa. It's taken me 9 years, but I finally got a way of doing it. It's easier to fly a parcel from Europe to here. The hardest part of the whole trip is the last mile, finding where that house is, especially here, right? So this is going to be specializing in last mile courier and express deliveries in really remote towns, really remote areas. So I also designed a model to support this for them. And basically, it's where four single mothers come together as one team. So one will drive, one does marketing to get accounts, one childminds, and one has free time. So one that has free time, of course that's not free time, there'll be of course plenty to do. But with this, I was actually sitting next to a CEO of the Commonwealth Business Women's Network. This is kind of on the shelf, but I showed to him, he's very interested, wants to become involved. They're actually in 53 countries. And also, we had a very, very prominent, good speaker here last night, Nigerian industrial bank, and we had a meeting, and he wants to become involved to boost his female content in this project. Okay, so the next one is the bus rail. Now, bus rail, you might know that about 7 years ago, Ghana bought about 1,000 buses. A Toyota Coaster bus in Ghana is $84,000. That's a lot of money. So, obviously, not going to pay that. So what they do is they bought Chinese buses. And inside about 36 months, 700 of these were parked in paddocks, broken. They're basically irreparable. You look at them, they look good. You get into them and drive them away. But they're not repairable because if you repair them, they're going to break again. So what I've done is I've taken the Toyota Coaster bus because it was designed by the Japanese properly. So they have different folds and creases to give strength. And the Chinese actually have been copying these for over a decade. But they, again, use rubbish engines and components. So I've gone to the manufacturer and I've said, okay, I want your copy because your body is good, but I'm going to re-specify. So I re-specify with Cummins engines, off-road suspension, light truck tyres, as you can see here, polyurethane bushes. So these buses will last basically forever. And I've also put in things like for reliability. You might have, one of the biggest problems in the country for reliability with vehicles is contaminated fuel. So I put in a Caterpillar water separated fuel. So if you put contaminated fuel in a Toyota Coaster bus or any normal car, it's going to fail. But if you put it in one of these in our coaster buses for bus rail, it won't. It'll keep going. So also with this, I was looking at funding options, and we're going to do consortiums. So whilst people cannot afford it, if we put in consortiums, they can together employ people. They can afford to buy a bus business. And I kind of really wanted to target bank employees with this. Okay, I'm actually connected with about 6,000 bank employees in Ghana on my LinkedIn. I think I'm better connected in the banking industry than the Bank of Ghana. Okay, so the next one is African Education Authority. Now we're looking at a lot of how to do education, because a lot of the things that involve education is a big thing. So how to fund it? So I come up with a way like this. So basically, the ground floor doesn't show it, but it incorporates. So half of it incorporates commercial supporting things like the office, catering, laundry, coffee shop, stuff like that. Then the next 3 levels is student accommodation. So now what we do is there are 2-bedroom apartments, but they're made differently. So I've designed them so the bedrooms are large, and they'll take 2 sets of double beds. So that means 4 people. That's 8 people to an apartment. So this is like luxury dorm because they're in their own apartment. And then this we sell to investors, and then the top is a school. So this is a way of actually facilitating education facilities and have them funded. The next one is just basically a similar one for residential. And this one is next one. Okay, I read a thing by Bill and Belinda Gates about how they're trying to do reduce deaths and in sanitation, because pathogens in no public services is killing vast amounts of people in this country. And at the end of the report, they spent millions of dollars, and they said, basically, they wind up and said that the problem can't be fixed. So I then designed this, which you notice is a public amenities at the bottom, and it's a pod hotel at the top, and it has actually 7 income streams. So this has actually fixed it. I fixed this problem in about 2 weeks. So these are very, very viable, and I think it should be working with municipalities if anyone's here, and we can facilitate these public facilities in the 216 municipalities in Malaysia, in Ghana. So in the summary, we can work with municipalities and governments. We also measure our impact and provide. This is providing unprecedented impact with housing, logistics, transport, and job creation. The industrial parks are creating around 20,000 jobs each. Next, our current pipeline is we've got projects designed in Kenya. With the Kenya Port Authority, is designed for 250,000 containers. It's currently doing 700,000 containers. So we've got an agreement to do it at Voi, which is about 50 kilometres up the road, via the new train, and do clearance there. We've got 100 acres at Chaiman, near Amasaman, at Dodua, Pram Pram and Ho, and also in Nigeria. We've got these 100 acres and 400 acres, and a small one near Port Accord. So these are what we'll be starting with as pilots. I thought I'd also talk about how we're funding. So we've got, I'm in a hurry, but I think funding analysis is all what you guys want to know about. So, one outcut is buy to lease. So we're doing remittance alternatives. Do you know that you send $2,000 million to Ghana, friends and family? If they sent it via buy to lease, instead of sending, say, 4,800 over 48 months, receiving about 3,600, through buy to lease they receive 7,100. So if you look at these things, there's plenty better ways to do things, and I've got it all written down here. The next one is funding for strategies for property. So in the beginning, I was looking at how to fund these projects, and because I deal in low-cost housing, that's even harder. So what I come up with was funding housing projects through funding power projects. So I actually got a deal with a Chinese power company that will fund it. But then you say, well, how do you do that? Because the solar's on the roof. So what I did was I designed a house where I can build the roof first. So we build the roof first, put the thing on, it funds it, and we build the rest of the house underneath. So if you just think about things, you can get an answer. Sure, it's unconventional, but it works. Okay, so we've also got bond guarantees to do bonds in local currencies. We're actually now participating in a bond issue in Germany to do project funds. We provide land to local property developers and international property developers. So we can provide them, we just provide the land, they can develop it, and then we sort it out when the things get settles, we'll split up. Obviously private investors to fund construction of single homes, just one home at a time. We also sell homes on leasebacks. We can sell a home with an automatic leaseback. We use that's how we fund display homes. And then banking, I had one where they were putting equity and debt into banks in order to fund mortgages for our projects. Next. Okay. Now this is a brand new one. This is 2 weeks old. So this is we only got a couple of pages left. This is the first gold-backed bonds in Africa. So we're using African gold from African mines to provide collateral security on African bonds in African currencies for African projects. So there's about, I've got a mine now in Zimbabwe which we can use, got $1 billion in assets, and this is going to be a new initiative which I was also speaking to the industrial bank in Ghana last night, is very interested. So, and of course, it says here to have use this to fund joint ventures that might participate. The next one is just business opportunities. So this is basically things where people can get a 48% return over 48 months, and this funds the purchase of the vehicles, which is then leased to the single mothers to fund that. Other things like, and these are the various types of investments that we can have, and everybody can participate in all of these things. So that is the conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gavin. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going into a very important segment of this occasion today. We already have